every new romance anime announced for 2024, so far. Like every other year, 2024 is overflowing with anime content. Each season contains a plethora of action, isekai, fantasy, and comedy shows, along with the occasional slice of life, horror, mecha, and magical girl series. Naturally, love stories are no exception, and the genre tends to be well represented. Romance anime come in many shapes, sizes, and subgenres, and this variety will be on full display throughout 2024. To make sure nobody misses any show they might be interested in, here are all the new 2024 romance anime that have been announced so far. Updated July 21, 2024, the summer 2024 anime have been updated to reflect their current ongoing statuses. Furthermore, a couple of new romance anime have been announced for fall 2024. No movies, OVAs, or ONAs will be included. A Sign of Affection. Winter 2024. Based on a popular shoujo manga that debuted in 2019, A Sign of Affection was one of Winter 2024's better shows in any genre, not just romance. Since birth, Yuki has been hearing impaired, and she can at times struggle to connect with people. One day, she meets Itsuomi Nagi, a guy who can speak multiple languages, although not sign language. This chance encounter starts a heartwarming relationship centering around communication. Although generally enjoyable, romance stories tend to stick to established tropes and dynamics. Consequently, A Sign of Affection's unique focus sets it apart from the crowd. The fact that both Yuki and Itsuomi are likable characters does not hurt either, and the secondary cast gets some attention as well. The Demon Prince of Mamaki House. Winter 2024. On her 16th birthday, Himari inherits a house from her deceased parents, which she plans to make full use of despite rumors that it might be cursed. Once there, Himari finds 3 unwanted male guests who refuse to leave. Before long, the young protagonist learns there is a good reason her new home is thought to be haunted. The Demon Prince of Mamaki House leans quite heavily into comedy and some action, especially during the first few episodes, while a romance between Himari and Aoi bubbles in the background. The manga is generally a fun read, and the anime is decent but suffers from a slow start that might put off viewers. Tales of Wedding Rings. Winter 2024. Tales of Wedding Rings is an isekai story that blends action, fantasy, romance, and harem elements. Debuting in 2014 and producing more than 70 chapters up to this point, the source material is reasonably successful and has a cult following. Sato loves Haim, a girl he has known for years, therefore, he naturally follows her to another world when she slips through a portal. Once there, he learns that his friend is the princess of another world and is set to marry the next king. However, this can change depending on who possesses her ring, and Haim, or Crystal, is not the only princess with jewelry to hand out. As far as harem-witchy isekai anime are concerned, Tales of Wedding Rings can be enjoyable if someone goes in with relatively low expectations. Even though the whole story revolves around the male lead developing a harem, Crystal is 100% presented as Satu's main love interest. However, the story's genre blend means that she often takes a backseat. Seventh Time Loop. The villainess enjoys a carefree life married to her worst enemy. Winter 2024. Villainous anime have become commonplace, and while most fall within isekai territory, exceptions exist. Fall 2023's Star Moon Empire was one such example, and Seventh Time Loop was another. Rish has died 6 times already, reincarnating on the day she was dumped by her fiancé. Unfortunately, she always seems to meet a gruesome end after a while, despite her efforts to change her fate. Determined to make the next one count, she sets out to stop the start of a war that always breaks out, a process that involves getting to know Prince Arnold. Seventh Time Loop offers mystery, comedy, drama, and heart-pounding romance. Rish is the star of the story here, and her chemistry with Arnold is fantastic. While villainous stories are starting to become inescapable, this anime is one of the theme's better examples. The Foolish Angel Dances with the Devil. Winter 2024. While predominantly a comedy, The Foolish Angel Dances with the Devil should be able to scratch someone's itch for romance, especially if they push through the first few episodes. Set in a universe where demons and angels are at war, Akutsu turns to the human world for assistance, and he decides to attend a high school in the hope of finding recruits. Once there, he meets a captivating girl named Lily who he feels an almost instant attraction to. Unfortunately, he learns that she is an angel. With a Romeo and Juliet-style premise and a penchant for comedic silliness, The Foolish Angel Dances with the Devil is a cute rom-com about enemies turned partners. The early episodes can be frustrating as they mainly consist of the angel humiliating the devil, but the anime slowly adopts a more wholesome tone as it moves along. Dr. Elise, the Royal Lady with the Lamp. Winter 2024. Yuan's Dr. Elise web novel was adapted into a manhwa in 2017, lasting for roughly 4 years before ending in 2021. In a unique twist, the protagonist is a terrible person who, after being killed, reincarnates in Korea. Deciding to specialize in medicine, Elise has a good run but winds up meeting her end again, only to be reincarnated as her former awful self. Now, she plans to set things right and carve a positive future for herself, which involves taking her love life in a healthy direction. Dr. Elise was not among Winter 2024's most memorable isekai or romance anime, with the series losing momentum quickly as it moved along. The first episode arguably represented the show's peak, and it never really reached that high bar again. Studio apartment, good lighting, angel included. Spring 2024. Like any genre, romance tends to revisit a few basic concepts. Manga and anime love to throw an average guy with a quirky girl who might have an element of mystery to them. Studio apartment, good lighting, angel included does not hide its selling point. The male lead suddenly finds himself living with a spiritual being. Good-natured but unaccustomed to the ways of humankind, Toa, the eponymous angel, is inexperienced but also very willing to learn. Fortunately, Shintaro is more than ready to help his new roommate out. Studio apartment, good lighting, angel included is likable fluff. The characters are inoffensive and pleasant, without necessarily being that interesting. This anime offers a fine way to spend 20 minutes per week, especially if someone enjoys their romances to come with a healthy dose of harem and comedy tropes. Spice and Wolf, Merchant Meets the Wise Wolf. Spring 2024. Izuna Hasekura's Spice and Wolf light novel is a beloved fantasy romance classic, and it produced a great anime adaptation in 2008. That version has aged well and is an easy recommendation, but it only covers a fragment of the source material. Consequently, a new version is now out, one created in celebration of the property's 15th anniversary. Spice and Wolf revolves around Lawrence and Hollow's relationship. The former is a traveling merchant with aspirations of opening a shop, meanwhile, the latter is a goddess who has grown disillusioned with her circumstances. Together, they go on a journey filled with charm, beauty, and bargains. While still airing its 25-episode run, Spice and Wolf should go down as one of the year's best romance anime. At the bare minimum, Hollow will be among 2024's best female anime characters, as she is the definition of charming. Not to take anything away from Lawrence, a great male lead in his own right, but the merchant is utterly overshadowed by the wise wolf, who is firmly established as one of the best-written characters in the romance genre, any version, to be honest. Hollow has a strong personality that blends intelligence, hopefulness, and world-weariness, creating a persona that is both relatable and also undeniably singular. A Condition Called Love. Spring 2024. A Condition Called Love seemed destined for an adaptation as the manga is more than popular enough to justify it. The series is one of the more interesting romance anime of 2024, but viewers should be warned that the story is not 100% wholesome all the time. Hotori has very little interest in romance, but she decides to accept Hananoi's request for a date when he asks her out in public. While they make for a relatively cute couple, Hananoi is also fairly intense, to the point of bordering on obsession and unhealthy behavior. Although calling out the male protagonist's conduct at times, it is a slow process. Consequently, a condition called love might leave a rather sour taste in a viewer's mouth. Hananoi can be controlling and invasive of Hotori's space, creating an uncomfortable dynamic that is difficult to support. An Archedman's Dilemma: How to Love Your Elf Bride. Spring 2024. A male protagonist purchasing a female slave is, admittedly, not the greatest starting point for a romance, but quite a few light novels, manga, and anime utilize this trope. Most are not great, but An Archdemon's Dilemma is something of an exception. The light novel debuted in 2017, with a manga adaptation following the year after. The property has a positive reputation on the whole, and the anime showcases why that is the case. Zagan and Neffy are surprisingly adorable together, and the former's goal to free the latter from her bonds makes their master-servant dynamic easier to digest. They are also both powerful and demonstrate their capabilities often, lessening the power dynamic to an extent. Zagan's awkwardness around Neffy is also quite charming and fits his backstory well. Astronaut. Spring 2024. An anime original, Astronaut is a wacky comedy with a romantic edge. After being let go from his chef job, Takumi is offered a new position as a live-in cook at a boarding house, which he only accepts because he has a crush on the residence's caretaker, Mira. Unbeknownst to the love-struck guy, she also happens to be an alien. Astronaut's director, Shinji Takamatsu, is experienced in comedy, working on classics like Gintama, School Rumble, and Grand Blue. That resume shines through the Spring 2024 series, with the humor being aggressive, energetic, and potentially polarizing. The romance mostly takes a backseat, being used as a plot point rather than anything substantial. Grandpa and Grandma turn young again. Spring 2024. A candidate for the cutest 2024 romance anime, Jisanba-san Wakagaru is about an elderly couple, Shozu and Ein, who suddenly regain their youth. In a charming twist, this development does not change their dynamic all that much, and they wind up generally doing the same things that they always did. Jisanba-san Wakagaru is a light-hearted slice of life centering around an endearing married couple who are comfortable with each other. The anime translated the manga well, with both Ein and Shozu regularly showing their affection for each other. At times, they do come across as a bit too shy considering they have been together for decades by this point in the story, but these moments are mostly cute. Mission: Yozakura Family. Spring 2024. Losing his family at a young age, Taiyo is largely alone, although he has one close friend in Mutsumi Yozakura. However, one day, the teenager finds himself targeted for death by his classmate's brother, a situation that winds up revealing that Mutsumi comes from a family of spies. Long story short, Taiyo needs to marry Mutsumi to survive. In turn, he plans to become the best possible spy to ensure his bride also remains safe. Mission: Yozakura Family blends action, drama, humor, and romance, creating a fun romp with very few slow or dull moments. As a Shonen Jump property, the story leans heavily into Taiyo's training and the family's missions, which are generally entertaining. That said, Taiyo and Mutsumi are refreshingly comfortable around each other. At one point, the former drank from the same straw as the latter and did not panic about sharing an indirect kiss. Vampire Dormitory. Spring 2024. Vampire anime do not come around often, and Vampire Dormitory could hit the mark with fans of the theme's romantic side. Cross-dressing as a guy, the homeless Mito is approached by Ruka, a vampire who does not like the taste of men's blood but also cannot drink from women. Due to believing Mito to be a guy, Ruka suggests that she come to live with him, which she accepts. Vampire Dormitory is a fairly typical shoujo romance, and the anime does not deliver too many surprises. That said, there is nothing wrong with predictability if it is executed well, and this series is largely fine. Chillin' in another world with level 2 super cheat powers. Spring 2024. While most isekai stories tend to go down the harem route, exceptions naturally exist. Chillin' in another world with level 2 super cheat powers opts to focus on an established couple, with Fleo and Fenris coming together quite quickly in the light novel. The anime emphasizes their marriage heavily as well, and they make for an endearing duo. The male protagonist is summoned to serve as a kingdom's hero, but his weak stats cause him to be banished. However, he eventually learns that he is much stronger than he initially presumed. More importantly, he quickly meets a demon wolf who takes a shine to him. Fenris and Fleo make for a cute couple, and they bounce off each other well. Despite having quite a robust roster of characters, the anime presents these two as its main and only couple, allowing them to flourish while building a few reasonably healthy friendships along the way. Welcome home. Spring 2024. Spring 2024 had something to offer both boys love and girls love fans. Part of the Omegaverse, Tadema, Okari envisions a world with a more fluid gender system, including people known as Omegas who can give birth regardless of their gender. Despite being quite common, Omegas face regular discrimination, something Masaki is very familiar with. While dealing with past trauma, Masaki is trying not to pass on his fears to his children, whom he is raising alongside Hiramu. Relevant and powerful, Tadema, Okari frames its social commentary through a lovable family dynamic. Hiramu and Masaki are not only great parents to Hikari and Michiru, but they are also a supportive couple who have been through their share of challenges, ones that left scars but made them stronger. Unnamed memory. Spring 2024. It only takes a single beautiful moment to make a romance. Conversely, one terrible choice can have the opposite impact. Unnamed Memory had quite a few things going for it, mainly a powerful female lead. Looking to break a curse that has rendered him incapable of having a child with most women, Oscar turns to Tinashe, a powerful witch, for a solution. After rejecting his marriage proposal, the latter agrees to live with the former for a year while searching for a cure. In the meantime, their relationship gradually strengthens, suggesting they might end up together. Oscar's romantic interest in Tinashe is fairly one-sided, and he can be rather aggressive with his declarations of love. While these exchanges are mostly playful, the one exception paints the male lead in such a negative light that he has yet to recover, and the same can be said for the main romance. Anyone who has watched the anime will know the scene, but a jealous Oscar robs Tinashe of her abilities and threatens to take advantage of her, as a prank, punishment. The moment came out of nowhere and did not fit his character, at least not up to that point. Whisper Me a Love Song. Spring 2024. While the many sides of voice actor radio has only implied romance so far, albeit with an unexpectedly forward bath scene, Whisper Me a Love Song is very much about two teenagers falling for each other, even if they might not fully understand what they are experiencing. Blown away by her senpai's performance at their school's opening ceremony, Himari confesses her admiration to Yuri, who mistakenly takes it as a declaration of love. As she falls for the younger girl, Yuri decides to spend more time with Himari to see if there might be genuine romantic feelings between them. Whisper Me a Love Song is somewhat slow-going for a girls' love show, as the subgenre tends to prefer stories that move at a quick pace. However, Yuri and Himari are instantly affable, and their scenes are constantly adorable. The supporting characters are also solid, for the most part. Unfortunately, the anime lost a lot of steam as it moved along. My Wife Has No Emotion. Summer 2024. Another AI-themed romance, My Wife Has No Emotion revolves around a human man and his android partner. This time, Takuma specifically buys Mina to keep his apartment clean and cover the chores, and that is the extent of their relationship at first. However, things gradually start to change after Takuma mentions that Mina is like his wife, which the robot takes as an order that she should try to fulfill that role. Jiro Sujira's seinen manga has enjoyed a successful run since debuting in 2019. Admittedly, this concept is not particularly original, but it should be fun to see a slice-of-life take on the sci-fi staple theme of what it means to be human. So far, the anime is kind of weird. On the one hand, Mina and Takuma's dynamic is wholesome and cute. Conversely, it is really weird and borderline uncomfortable. Sure, Mina has some agency, but she is still Takuma's property, creating an imbalance that is not great for a romance. Alya sometimes hides her feelings in Russian. Summer 2024. Alya sometimes hides her feelings in Russian has a pretty simple hook that lends itself well to both comedy and romance. Sleeping through lessons, Gyuz comes across as lazy, something a girl in his class, Kuju, regularly reprimands him for. Hardworking and disciplined, the latter secretly has feelings for her classmate, which she reveals in Russian under the assumption that nobody else speaks the language. However, Gyuz is an exception, although he prefers to keep that fact to himself. One of the most hyped-up anime of summer 2024, Alya sometimes hides her feelings in Russian has largely succeeded in living up to its pre-debut momentum. Kuju and Gyuz's banter is generally delightful, especially since both members are presented on equal footing. Sure, they engage in some light teasing, but it is playful and usually advances their relationship. Pseudo-harem. Summer 2024. Okay, pseudo-harem is more of a slice-of-life comedy with romantic subtext than a full-blown romance, but it is painfully obvious that Eiji and Rin are into each other. As Eiji wants to be popular and surrounded by adoring girls, Rin decides to use her acting ability to take on the persona of different waifus, feeding into her senpai's fantasy. Her antics are all in good fun, and he is generally along for the ride. Naturally, Rin has a thing for Eiji, but the latter struggles to pick up on the not-so-subtle cues. Pseudo-harem pokes fun at harem tropes without looking down on them, all the while telling an adorable slow-moving romance between two awkward and endearing teenagers. Senpai Izaneta Kanoko. Summer 2024. Tackling relevant and challenging themes, Senpai Izaneta Kanoko takes a modern look at sexuality and gender identity. The senpai in question is Makoto Hanoka, a guy who cross-dresses as a girl at school. The story primarily revolves around Makoto's relationships with Saki Aoi, a younger girl who loves her senpai, and Riji Taiga, a close friend who is dealing with his own complicated feelings. While not extremely dark, Senpai Izaneta Kanoko tells a fairly grounded story that tries to explore all three characters' lives, personalities, and sexualities. Days with My Stepsister. Summer 2024. Days with My Stepsister is a loaded title that might paint an inaccurate picture in a lot of people's heads. For the most part, this anime should tell a fairly grounded slice-of-life story about a newly formed family, albeit one that sprinkles in some romance as it goes along. Yuta and Saki are roughly the same age, and they also go to the same school. When their parents marry, they suddenly find themselves sharing a roof. Some initial awkwardness aside, they quickly form a bond and begin to help each other out. Romance is obviously on the cards and the end goal, but it is not the only focus of the story. Yuta and Saki are both trying to get used to depending on each other, especially since they are both quite dependent. Love is Indivisible by Twins. Summer 2024. Shahan Takamura's Koi wa Futago Dawara Krenai follows Jun and the Jingoji sisters, with the former initially dating the older sibling, Rumi. However, complicated feelings arise due to Rumi knowing that Nari has a huge crush on Jun, so she decides to break things off to set the stage for those two to date. Obviously, things just get more complicated from there. Love is Indivisible by Twins has been a weird watch so far. Rumi and Nori are both interesting characters in their own right, and they both have chemistry with Jun that allows their relationships to shine. However, despite being one of the few summer 2024 romance anime to quickly form a couple, the dates are dragged down by an air of pending melodrama. The magical girl and the evil lieutenant used to be archenemies. Summer 2024. An adaptation of Koko Fujiwara's final manga before the mangaka's untimely passing in 2015, The Magical Girl and the Evil Lieutenant Used to Be Arch-Enemies is a cute rom-com that twists the magical girl genre on its head. Mira is leading the charge to destroy Earth, while memory is humanity's first line of defense. However, things take a strange twist when the villain finds himself falling in love with the magical girl. Primarily focusing on comedy, The Magical Girl and the Evil Lieutenant Used to Be Arch-Enemies is funny and sweet. Making too many losing heroines. Summer 2024. Too Many Losing Heroines warrants a special mention as the light novel is primarily a slice-of-life comedy that happens to revolve quite a bit around the characters' romantic lives and failings. Kazuhiko Nukamazu becomes involved with three girls at school after he sees their love confessions fall on uninterested ears. Lost love drives Making too many losing heroines forward, but romance between the characters is not necessarily the focus. So far, Kazuhiko comes across as more of a friend to the girls rather than a potential love interest. Still, the anime has been great so far, particularly the humor. Atri, My Dear Moments. Summer 2024. Based on a game rather than a manga or light novel, Atri, My Dear Moments is one of a few Android-based romance anime airing in 2024. Set in a terrifying future where rising sea levels have eradicated most dry land, leaving humanity with little room to maneuver, the story revolves around Natsuki Ikuruga, a guy who is struggling to survive, and Atri, an android girl he happens to awaken. As Frontwing Makura's visual novel is highly regarded for its characters and world building, the adaptation has more than enough great material to create something special. While still early days, the show has mostly hit the ground running so far, delivering a decent first episode that establishes the world, Natsuki's challenges, and Atri's personality. Admittedly, Atri's design makes her look quite a bit younger than Natsuki, but their dynamic so far is not that focused on romance. 365 Days to the Wedding Fall 2024. Now, this should be a fun twist on the romance genre. To avoid a transfer overseas, Takuya and Rika decide to pretend they are getting married in a year, despite barely ever interacting. Thrusting themselves into this newfound fake romance, they must play their part to ensure they do not find themselves in Siberia. Ashi Productions is not necessarily known for its romance adaptations, but the studio has created its share of classics over the decades. Hopefully, this will be an exciting addition to their resume. Blue Box. Fall 2024. One of the most highly anticipated romance anime of 2024, Blue Box has become a fixture of modern shonen since its 2021 debut. In a nice change of pace, Kujikura's manga also fits the sports genre, which does not cross over with romance all that often, but when it does, the results are usually great. Ki and Chinatsu are both striving to excel in their chosen fields, although the latter is generally more talented than the former. When they wind up living together, the stage is set for their friendship to blossom and potentially turn into something more. The Do-Over Damsel Conquers the Dragon Emperor. Fall 2024. Somewhat similar to Winter 2024's Seventh Time Loop, the villainess enjoys a carefree life married to her worst enemy. The Do-Over Damsel Conquers the Dragon Emperor follows a female lead who is falsely accused and killed but then gets a second chance at life when she travels back in time to 6 years earlier. When she reawakens, she decides to jokingly confess her love to the Dragon Emperor, knowing his future involves a lot of bloodshed. To her surprise, he reciprocates the gesture. A fantasy comedy with a romance element, Do-Over Damsel has a big age difference between its two leads, to the point that it will almost certainly be off-putting in the anime. How I Attended an All-Guys Mixer. Fall 2024. Another series that focuses on cross-dressing, How I Attended an All-Guys Mixer chronicles the progress of 3 relationships, all of which feature guys dating women who dress as men for their jobs. The title refers to the couple's initial encounter, a mixer that Tokiwa, Kohaku, and Hagi attend without the knowledge of their date's progressions. Consequently, they are caught off guard. Nevertheless, this group date pays off. A romantic comedy that shines a spotlight on a part of Japanese culture that is not often represented in anime. How I attended an all-guys mixer should be refreshing. If my wife became an elementary school student. Fall 2024. Now, that is a title that might immediately raise concerns about the story's content. However, If My Wife Became an Elementary School Student should be a relatively wholesome, but heavy, story about grief and moving on following a personal tragedy. A decade after his wife passed away, Keisuke meets her reincarnated version. The latter decides to help the former move on, something he has not really been able to do. I'll Become a Villainess That Will Go Down in History. Fall 2024. Another villainous isekai story, I'll Become a Villainess That Will Go Down in History finds its female lead awakening as the bad character in her favorite Atome game, Alicia Williams. The original character is evil in as basic of a way as possible, with her just being awful to everyone around her but not doing anything particularly interesting or unique. Taking advantage of this opportunity, the protagonist sets out to become the greatest villainess imaginable. As with most entries in this isekai subgenre, Rikishi ni no Koruakujo ni Naruzo incorporates a romantic element quite heavily, although it is not the story's only focus. Mirai in Love. Fall 2024. Primarily a comedy but also with a fair few romantic elements, Mirai in Love tackles a taboo subject as the central pairing involves a female teacher and a male student. It should be noted that Mirai, the student, falls in love with Tanaka, the teacher, and the former goes out of his way to try and become the perfect partner, based on the latter's love for Atome games. The 2018 web manga can be pretty funny at times, and it was successful enough to inspire a Japanese live-action drama as well. The anime adaptation's trailer has quite a few amusing bits, and J.C. Staff is known for producing quality. Nina the Starry Bride. Fall 2024. Nina the Starry Bride is named after its main heroine, a street urchin orphan who has led as harsh of a life as possible. Things take a strange turn when she finds herself in the custody of the local prince, who decides that she will step into the shoes of the recently deceased Prince Alicia. While this might sound better than living on the streets, Nina is essentially a prisoner in the palace, and she knows that her future is still very much in danger. Nina is the manga's star, and she will hopefully retain her charm in the adaptation. The story incorporates adventure elements quite heavily, so it is not just a romance. Punairu is a cute slime. Fall 2024. There is nothing quite like the love between a boy and a slime. Well, Kotaro might contest that as the teenager struggles to accept that the slime he created as a child can now morph into a girl. Humor and romance ensue. Ranma Half, 2024. Fall 2024. A cause for celebration, Ranma Half is making its big comeback, with a reboot series launching in October 2024. While primarily a comedy, Ranma Half also incorporates plenty of romance, even if it is mostly designed to make fun of the genre's tropes. Ranma and Akana are an iconic duo by this point, and the new series will hopefully expose the series to a whole new generation of fans. Tying the Knot with an Amagami Sister. Fall 2024. While mainly a recommendation for harem fans, Tying the Knot with an Amagami Sister will, obviously, also fit into the romance genre. Ayu moves into a shrine and meets three sisters, and shrine maidens, and he learns that he will have to marry one of them. Tying the Knot with an Amagami Sister has a fun male lead who has a specific goal that he actively pursues. Meanwhile, the girls should be likable and charming. Yakuza Fiancé. Fall 2024. Based on a popular seinen manga that has been going on since 2017, Yakuza Fiancé revolves around Yoshino and Kirishima, two heirs from different Yakuza families who are forced to marry to create a relationship between the two. As far as premises are concerned, this one is very much a classic, which is far from a bad thing. Studio Dean is handling the adaptation, so the quality should be high. 2024 romance anime sequels. Naturally, 2024 has plenty of romance anime sequels as well. In fact, these projects are likely to outshine the new additions to the genre, at least in terms of exposure. The Dangers in My Heart has a very good chance of going down as the year's best romance anime, even if it is still too early to state that with 100% confidence. Kimi ni Todoke, From Me to You is also making its long-awaited return, producing its first anime content in more than a decade. The following shows have all been announced for the year. Banished from the Hero's Party, I Decided to Live a Quiet Life in the Countryside Season 2. Bottom-tier character Tomozaki Second Stage. The Dangers in My Heart Season 2. Urusei Yatsura, 2022, Second Season. Date Alive 5. The Irregular at Magic High School Season 3. The Cafe Terrace and Its Goddesses Season 2. Kimi ni Todoke, From Me to You Season 3. Our Last Crusade or The Rise of a New World Season 2. Seirai Gensuki, Spirit Chronicles Season 2.
Hello. Thank you for watching the video. Be sure to like and subscribe. If you have any suggestions for future content, comment and let me know. I know many are not comfortable with AI art. But, I am saving to gather supplies to delve into other art styles. It will take time. But, I am hoping to get into resin, woodworking, and metalworking. All I ask, please enjoy my videos.